Here, peak. Peak, I'm going to show this next one too. Peak and dip.
Peak is just a positive in the amplitude, and a dip would be a negative in the amplitude.
With regards to
going down, frequency.
A frequency response.
Yeah.
Which is worse, peaks or dips?
I would say generally peaks. Peaks call attention to themselves much more than dips do. Yeah.
And also, you're talking about Q, how wide it is. That also affects the audibility, right? Or the psychoacoustics, how you perceive it.
Right. Exactly.
All right. Let's see. You want to pronounce this one?
Timbre.
All right.
I still don't like it. I still don't like that it's pronounced timbre. It's so stupid.
Should I change it? I can change it.
Well, let's just everybody call it timbre. Just change. And then put like a little, above the N in Spanish, I was thinking
like
of a little thing that'll be timbre or something.
Oh man, you're hilarious.
You're great.
So timbre, timbre. You got me on the timbre. Timbre, and then I'll throw the next one's going to be harmonics, but I think they're somewhat related.
Timbre is just, like the tonality. I basically, to me, they're the exact same thing. You can say tonality and I can say timbre or vice versa. Actually, I never use the word timbre. Yeah, I never use the word timbre. I always just say tonality. But to me, that defines if you've got a peaky mid-range or a dip in the mid-range, you're talking about the timbre of the sound of the response.
Yeah, the way I look at it, timbre is like, different instruments will sound different. You can tell difference between a guitar and a horn. You can play the same note and they'll sound different. And it's because they have different harmonics, right? So they could play the first fundamental will be the same. And then the different tones that are also being played are different between those two instruments, right? Right. It's not a single like, poo. It's not that.
That's a good point too, yeah.
And so the difference is, I think, the difference in timbre. Yeah. I think that's what people are talking about when they talk about that.
I'll co-sign that.
And then you mentioned tonality. So tonality.
That to me, they're kind of the same thing. It's just describing how the sound sounds. There's a lot of
signature maybe.
Yeah, I think that sound signature. I'm going with that.
And then you already said this one, so we don't have to go over that. Flat.
Right, like an ironing board.
All right. So very, very few. All right, realism.
Realism sounds real. But man, that's a weird one, because here we go again with these people like, oh, it sounded live like you were right there. I'm like, but does the recording sound that way? Because if the recording doesn't sound that way, then you're hearing something that's wrong.
Yeah.
And it's as simple as that.
I think realism, I put it towards the end here, and I think it's important because I think it goes along with the research that shows that flat or accurate is what most people like. Right. And I think it's because that sounds the most real. It makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Kind of makes sense.
Equals out. Yeah. A equals A and not A equals B.
Right. Target curve. What is that?
So that's more along the preference of, how you want something to sound. Let's say not everybody, most people agree, through research shows that most people agree that a flat on-axis response with smooth off-axis response is a preferred sound. But outside of that, you have the people who weren't in the most category. They're the people who may prefer a little bit of a boosted treble for some reason. Maybe they can't hear as well at that high. Some people may prefer, a lower bass response. It's just, that's preference. So a target curve to me would be kind of how you tweak the sound in your room to provide you with what you want to hear at the end of the day. And I will say that it is a lot easier to start off with a very good speaker and use a equalization or a room correction to achieve that target curve than it is to start with a speaker that has terrible off-axis response and achieve the target curve.
And you guys know what off-axis response means now, right?
Yeah, they do.
So how about this one? Last two.
Room modes. Yeah.
I've seen people write room nodes too.
Yeah.
Have you seen that?
Yeah, I've seen nodes as well. Nodes are, I don't know. That's a different
room
definition.
modes.
It's a different definition, yes. Room modes would just be, let's say you've got certain problem frequencies in your room. Everybody's got them. You probably know them as well as anybody else does. But, typical room is going to have an issue. Maybe let's say 50 hertz. It's going to have a high peak, high Q resonance. That's a room mode. Dip can be a room mode. So it's just things that are generated because of the shape and the size of the room itself.
So we already mentioned this clinical,
a
sound that may just be neutral. I mean, it might not be fun. Some people say fun because it sounds a certain way, and this might just be, I don't know. Some people say boring also.
I think of it as negative. When I see the term clinical, I think of it as a negative.
See, See, I never thought about it as negative because I've seen people mention studio monitors as clinical. I'm like, well, it's supposed to sound that way. So
well, every time I've seen clinical, somebody always says, yeah, I will like so-and-so speaker, but it just sounds a little bit too clinical or it sounds too dry. And I'm like, okay, well, I take that to mean that you didn't like it. That's how I take it.
Just I didn't like it.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So I don't have, here's an extra one. This is 101. All right.
Okay.
101. Did we talk about resonance already?
We said the word resonance 1,000 times, but I don't know if we talked about it. Resonance would just be something that drones on and on. So, like in this room, it's very resonant. And then there's, maybe that's a bad example. Let me try this again. Resonant would be something that drones on and on, like a particular note on a guitar. It lingers longer than it should. You know, you pluck a guitar string and it goes doom versus doom. How's that sound? Sound great?
And does it have to do with the way that two things are interacting? So a lot of times they're talking about the resonance in a enclosure, right? And it hits it at a certain frequency. It excites that particular
that's true
resonance.
Yeah, because I'm thinking in terms of the room itself. But speakers can absolutely have their own internal resonance. The Klipsch RC4. I keep going back to this because it's fresh in my mind, but that's a speaker that has a resonance in the low 100 hertz region, and it's due to, I believe, it's due to a standing wave inside the enclosure. And when you play that frequency, it's a lower male vocal, it really tends to just light that frequency and emphasize it more than it should.
All right. So that's a distortion, which I don't think we have that in here either, but a distortion of the original sound, which is, it's added.
Right. Yeah.
Kind of curious, a little off topic, but we're already over, but I'll have to cut this down. But when you have a resonance, that means that there's less transmission, right? Because transmission would just be going straight through without any extra excitement, unnecessary excitement.
Right.
I'm wondering how those relate to audio. Anyway, I'm nerding out. I can always nerd out with you because we're on the same frequency.
Yeah.
So there's always a resonance there, and we keep droning on and on whenever we get together. That's how it goes.
Did you plant that? Because that was good.
I'm just listening.
That was good. I appreciated that.
I'm listening, my friends.
My friends.
I see. Hey, I appreciate you doing this with me. And,
yeah, man. It's fun.
Yeah. Hopefully that's helpful to you guys out there. And
hopefully.
If there are any more that we've missed, leave them in the comments.
Absolutely.
If we've, defined something in the incorrect way or you think it should be a different way, let us know.
Yeah, I'm sure
and
they
also,
will.
Make sure to follow Erin at Erin's Audio Corner. He's going to blow up. I'm pretty sure his channel is going to surpass mine, and that's okay because he's awesome. And, I don't mind. That's fine.
I appreciate it, but I don't think that's going to happen. But maybe. We'll see.
Hopefully.
That'd be cool. I can retire early. Pay this thing off.
All right, so that's the end of the video. If you liked it, make sure to like, subscribe, ring the bell to be notified when I upload new videos. Anyway, that's it. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye. Peace.